Happy New Year and welcome. This is Lisa Girardi of the Chicago Dental Society. Thank you so much for logging in today to participate in our second webinar for our exhibitors. It is my pleasure to introduce one of America's leading experts on exhibiting success. Since 1985, he has executed over 200 trade shows and is continually researching the exhibiting strategies and best practices of highly successful companies. He's president of Competitive Edge, a Charlotte, North Carolina-based exhibit marketing, consulting, and training firm. Since 1991, he has helped his exhibiting clients turn their investments from expensive appearances into profitable investments. His clients have realized over $500 million in combined results from trade shows. Here today to present Exhibiting ROI, how to measure and report exhibiting results and return on investment, I'll turn the webinar over to Jefferson Davis.
Thank you, Lisa, and again, thank you to everybody who's taken time out of your schedule to log in. You know, when it comes to trade shows, the question I always ask, do you make expensive appearances where you essentially spend the money and leave it on the floor, or do you make productive, profitable investments? The key to being able to answer that question is the subject matter of today's webinar on exhibiting ROI. So we're going to take you inside of, in a very fast-paced manner, how to measure and report exhibiting ROI and the results you achieve from trade shows. This webinar is part of the Chicago Dental Society's commitment to you as exhibitors to provide education, knowledge to help you succeed at the show. Gotta do something. I might have to do something about this. There's a way to pay for a hire or a secured. Come on. Okay, I can't be too jumpy here. Sometimes it'll flash and then. All right, it looks like I am back. I apologize for that. The internet, I don't know if it's a cold or what. We just had we're disconnected and reconnected. Lisa, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right, thanks. Apologize for that. So, yeah, so this program is part of the CDS commitment, and the centerpiece of the program is what you're seeing on the screen, the Exhibitor Success and ROI Center. It's your 24/7, 365 exhibiting success knowledge portal, webinars, articles, ask the trade show expert. So make sure that you bookmark it, make sure you share it with everybody on your team, and make sure that you visit frequently because we will be continually adding new content. Okay, so let's get into the content of today. You know, I mentioned earlier expensive appearance, profitable investment. And unfortunately, for too many exhibitors, their program does end up where the spend is heavily outweighing the results they're getting. So what I want to do is start off with a quick poll here. I'd like to find out, those of you that are on with me today, where are you on the satisfaction continuum with the results you're getting? Take a look on your screen, and you will see a poll that is live. Click the radio dial button that applies. You could be very satisfied, somewhat not, or maybe you don't know. Maybe you don't have any form of measurement or metrics in play to really know what's going on. So take a moment, complete that. All hands on, fastest fingers, and when you're in, I'll share the results. We're at over 80%, so I'll give you just another moment. 82. Those of you who haven't pushed the button yet, come with me. This next 45 minutes is going to be priceless. All right, we're at 90%. That is good. Thanks for your help. Here come the results. Okay, so we've only got about 8% of us who are in the very satisfied range. I'm sorry, satisfied range. And it looks like our screen is acting up here. 1 second. Yeah, for some reason the poll results are not showing. I'm seeing the spend. Lisa, are you seeing the spend results image?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll verbally give them to you. I guess the internet wires are frozen or something's going on. 8% said you're satisfied. For you, today is going to help you bring more measurement to it, probably take your results even higher. 51% of you are in that somewhat satisfied range, which means that this is going to help you kind of raise that number. 33% who are in the not satisfied, I think you're going to get some practical tools here today. And for the 8% who don't know, you are definitely going to learn how to bring the measurement into the game here. So here, you know, that's where you were. This is where we want to get you to, and that's why the Exhibitor Resource Center, the E3 program we'll be doing at the show, is we want to see every exhibitor in the show have where the results are heavily outweighing the spend. So let's talk about our exhibit program, okay? So if your program's working and it's really delivering, there are two things, deliverables, the program should be bringing to your company. Number one is it should be visibly, directly supporting core business objectives. And typically those objectives are going to be in the area of marketing, sales, and customer relationship management. So how well do you feel the program is delivering right now on a 1 to 10? A 10 you're thrilled, a 1 you're disgusted in the ability to support core objectives. And second is delivering financial value beyond cost, ideally measurable. So how well do you feel that you're managing this part of the program? So the ROI game, let's talk about trade show ROI. What's interesting about trade show ROI is that everyone's talking about it, but amazingly very few are actually measuring it, outside of some very rudimentary measurements, which we're going to take you on a deeper dive on. So here are 4 questions for you to engage with in your workbook. I want you to jot your answers down. Question 1, do you believe it's possible to even measure trade show ROI? There's a lot of people out there that are saying you can't measure trade shows, it's not measurable. Well, do you believe that? Okay, yes or no? Second, do you measure right now? If you do measure, what or how do you measure? What metrics or what are you using to measure? And then finally, this is an important question, and I would like for some of you to, via your question box, I would like you to send me answers to this question, because we only had 8% of you that said you're satisfied. What factors do you feel are most limiting your company's ability to get return on investment from trade shows? What do you think is standing between your company and exhibiting ROI? So everybody who said not satisfied or somewhat satisfied, I'd like you to go ahead and just take a moment and think about that, and on your questions box, just type it in and send it over to me. And I will share some of those as we work through this webinar today. So go ahead and do that. Okay, I've got some answers coming in, so I'm going to share a few of those right off the bat. So, you know, see if this might prime some of your thinking. Some of you are saying late or insufficient follow-up with leads. That you're not doing, that your company's not a good job of following up with leads. Someone's got an answer is a long tail ROI calculations. that are getting intermixed with other marketing efforts. Some of them are saying we manufacture equipment so the sales don't show right away. Some lead follow-up is coming up again. Immeasurables such as the contacts that are made. Somebody said attendance, show attendance. Lisa, what are we, at last year's CDS show, how many attendees did we have?
We had 29,700. We too were disappointed in that number because for many years we were getting like 33, 34,000. So we attributed a lot of it to some of the cancellations that were done in mid-February due to the snow and the cold weather in the Midwest.
Yeah, but you know, here's the thing on attendance. Whether it's 29,000 or 33,000, some of you are not going to like what I'm going to say here, but I'm not a show organizer, and I'm going to come straight from the heart on this. Whether it's 29,000 or 33,000, that's still a boatload of dentists and dental professionals. And so I don't see a show with 29,000 or 33,000 having an attendance problem. I think from an exhibitor perspective, anybody who says, well, show attendance is the problem, I think we got to clarify what that means, and let me go direct at it. The problem isn't that there aren't enough dentists or assistants or hygienists or office managers at the show. There's 29,000. The problem is they're not at your booth, and that is a different problem. Okay, and by the way, for anybody who has concerns about that, if you did not log into driving qualified booth traffic on December 4th, you got to do it, okay? Because medical attendee show behaviors have changed. They're a lot more selective about which exhibitors they visit. You can't just rent space, show up, and hope that the attendee passes your booth and falls into the booth. You got to do some of the pre-work. So go back and look at driving qualified booth traffic. I'm going to come back to these as we go on, but some of these factors, you see, sometimes it's easy to go, well, we're not getting ROI because, and sometimes you know you got to challenge what these limiting factors are, and do a thing that one of my mentors always tells me. He says, recognize reality. There's 29,000 dental professionals at the show, and that is quote unquote in a bad year, right? So, man, you know, the opportunity's there, but we got to do our part as exhibitors. We can't just rent space, show up, and hope. Okay, so let's keep moving forward here now. Let's move into this ROI conundrum. There's some prerequisites that need to be in play. Number one is the way you see trade shows will have a great influence on what you do or what you don't do. So there's a few perspectives here I want to share. The first one is you've got to view your exhibiting program not as an expense, but as a marketing, sales, and customer relationship management investment. Okay, write that phrase down, investment. Here's why. If you view it as an expense, I can virtually guarantee something. It'll end up as an expense. If you view it as an investment, I can virtually guarantee something there too. You will approach it differently. Why? Because if it's an investment, what are you looking for? Return on investment. If it's an investment, what are you going to do? You're going to do everything and anything it takes to get to ROI. And that moves me to my second perspective on the screen here, having what I call a get from versus a get through perspective. Okay, and I might be talking about your booth staff here. I might be talking about the physical people that are on the floor. Okay, are they there because your company has goals and you've communicated them and they have ownership for part of them, or are they there because they feel they have to do their time? Are they thinking more about what can I do to make sure that we get the most from this show, or are they more what can I do to get through this show? Okay, these are two different perspectives, and they're things that we got to work on. Okay, the third thing, now I'm speaking to the exhibits manager here on number 3. If you're the person that is involved in managing the show, too often you are caught in what I like to call the logistics trap. Here's what I mean. Get the space, get the booth, get the products, get the people, get it all that there, get it set up, get it torn down, ship it home. All of that is logistical and operational stuff. And it has to happen. I get that. It's got to be done. But here's the thing. Somebody's got to drive the ship here. Somebody's got to be the captain of your exhibiting program. And if you're caught in the logistics trap and nobody's managing the strategic side of the game, all it guarantees is that your booth, your people, your products are going to show up. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to get anything from the big investment. So that leads me to my fourth prerequisite. If you're really going to get maximum ROI, okay, and we're going to define ROI, you've got to invest more time on the critical success factors that drive revenue and ROI. And I'll give you the 5 factors right now. Here they are. Outcomes, attraction, managing the visitor experience, follow through, and measurement. Those are the 5. Outcomes, attraction, managing the visitor experience, follow through, and measurement. And by the way, this is the content that we're delivering through this entire program. And over the next few years, we'll probably be adding a lot more to this. But if you do those 5 things well, your exhibit program supports your core business objectives, delivers measurable financial value beyond cost. Tell you what, if you neglect any of those 5 areas, you're limiting the value you're getting from shows. Okay, so we got to do our part. CDS does their part. They set up the show. They set up the venue. They get the dentist to the show. They get them into the convention center. They get them into the exhibit hall. And I'll be honest with you, that's where their responsibility stops. From there, it's on us. We got to really do our part. You know, we're going to have, what, Lisa, about 650 exhibiting companies?
Yes.
The average attendee is not going to stop at 650 booths. Okay, they're going to stop at a certain number, and many of those stops are going to be pre-planned. So we got to, well, you know what I'm telling you here, everybody listening, is because of the satisfaction level was not where I expected it to be, given all the shows that I do, is that if you market to dentists, you're in the right show. If you're not, oh, and by the way, there are more than enough of them at the show than any one of us could handle. But there's something that if you're not in the satisfied to very satisfied range, there's something you need to be doing that you're either not doing at all or you are doing it and you need to do it a little sharper, a little better, a little more focused. That's what we're talking about here today, okay? So let's talk goals. I tell you what, that first one, outcomes, okay, that's where it all begins. People ask me, Jefferson, how do you turn a trade show around? I would borrow from Stephen Covey's great book, The 7 Habits. Write this phrase down, everybody. Begin with the end in mind. Okay, the major question that you should be asking about not just the CDS midwinter meeting, but honestly, any show that your company does. Here's the major, write it down. When the doors close, 90, 180 days after the show, how will we know we succeeded? If you can get clarity on what those answers are and reverse engineer the outcome, work backwards from it, okay, and use exhibiting by objectives, which is on the screen here. So you start off by identifying what are our company's goals in sales, marketing, and customer relationship, and then how can we best use the show to support these. Then we set specific exhibiting goals in writing, backed up with a written action plan, communicated to everybody on the team so they know the goals, they have roles, there are measurements and checkpoints. Then we set up the metrics, okay, to measure. We determine our data collection points, pre, at, and post. And finally, we're checking in pre, we're checking in at daily, and we're checking in post. And that is how you manage the process of outcomes. Exhibitor Magazine did a study and found that only 1 out of 4 exhibiting companies set specific goals for trade shows. 3 out of 4 don't. 3 out of 4 do what I call exhibit by hope. They rent space, they show up, and they hope. okay? And if you're not thrilled with the results you're getting from shows, I promise you this one action is probably one of the most important things you need to do, like right now when you get off this webinar, is pull the team together and ask that question, and let's get at least 3 reasons that we can convert to goals, back them up with a written action plan, make sure everybody knows their part, execute the plan, and you will be on your way to one of the best shows in your company's history. Okay? So we got to set those goals. So let's talk measurement then. I'll step out of that because that outcomes is huge. It's hard to win a game that you don't know what the rules or the score necessary to win are. So measuring. Why should you go through the effort of measuring? You know, this much I know about most companies. Most companies know how much money they spent. Most companies know how many leads they captured. Most companies know if they are signing orders at the show, how many at-show sales they had. Some companies know how many of their customers were physically at the show and at their booth. But that's about it. Okay, there's very little measurement going on in this game here, and if you want to move into the top 10% of exhibitors, then measure, because here's the blanket statement on measurement. What gets measured gets done. Not only does what get measured get done, but here's another point. What gets measured gets improved. And if you're the person driving the measurement and promoting the results to your senior management team, here's one of the great benefits for you: improving your value to the organization. Bring in more value. Because right now, chances are that your boss might view the trade show program as a necessary evil. You know, many times I ask chief marketing officers, chief sales officers, vice presidents of sales, VPs of marketing, I ask, why do you guys exhibit? And they go, well, we're in the industry. We're kind of expected to be there. What would the competition say if we weren't there? And anytime I hear answers like that, I know that I've got a senior executive who's got what I call a perspective problem. Okay, and if they see it as a necessary evil, and you can take it and turn it into a productive, profitable investment that's delivering measurable value far beyond cost, I'm telling you, there's a lot of great things waiting for you there if you can do that. So reason 1, improve your value. Reason 2, if somebody's coming to you or you're asking yourself, why are we doing this? What are we getting? Meaning we got to justify, you need to measure. If you want to learn how the investment is performing and you want to learn specifically what needs to change to increase the ROI, you got to measure. Okay, so improve your value, justify the program, learn how it's performing and where the areas of improvement lie. Okay, so there's additional benefits of measuring I've listed below, but for the sake of time, I'm going to move forward. So let's talk budgeting here for a moment, since we're in the money side of the game here. How much do you budget for a show? Do you have any science on how you do that? Okay, well, the first thing you definitely should be using is the zero-based budgeting philosophy, which basically says any expense that shows up on your budget needs to justify its existence. Because is it supporting? Because if it isn't, then it's probably an area where you can cut costs, and I'll show you where the dollar goes in a moment. Next, how much should you budget on a show? Well, here's the industry rule of thumb, okay, the trade show industry rule of thumb. Floor space times 3 to 5. Let me explain. If you're in a single booth and that booth costs $3,000, minimally your show budget should be $9,000. Ideally, your show budget should be $15,000. So floor space times 3 to 5. Next, there are 9 areas where you will be investing the budget. The 2 areas that are the greatest leverage point, which will fast forward your ROI, number 1 is driving qualified booth traffic, and number 2, delivering a quality visitor experience. Okay, and I talked earlier that driving qualified booth traffic, it's on the site. So take a look at this next slide. The average company today allocates 8.3% of their annual marketing budget goes to exhibit event marketing. Of that, it is invested in 9 areas, as you can see on the screen: space, exhibit, show services, shipping, travel and entertainment, promotion, lead management, staff training, other. Those are the 9 areas. The leverage points in the budget would be in that orange slice up at 10 o'clock, promotion. The leverage point would be in that red area, exhibit. For some of you, the leverage point would be in the yellow area, space, maybe more space. For many of you, the exhibit staff training in the 1% up there, that would be a leverage point. So these are the areas where a little more resources put in the high impact areas would be a good way to go, okay? So here's a screenshot, which is also in your workbook, of some high-level suggestions on how to save money in these different areas. Sometimes you got to save money in one area so you can invest more in the areas that really make the difference. And there's some suggestions, money-saving tips there. Okay, so let me open for questions, and we're running a little behind with our technical glitch, but any questions that have flashed into your mind, go to your question box right now, type it, press send, and I will address them at the end of the webinar. And remember this, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Well, there might be one. It's the one that you need to ask, you want to ask, but you don't ask, okay? Because this is our chance here. Okay, so fire away with your questions. The minute they flash into your mind, type them. All right, so let's get into measurement now, okay? A lot of the whys and some goal setting and some where the dollar goes and stuff like that. But now we're going to put the pen to the pencil here, put the pen to the paper and get after it, okay? So I'm going to walk you through, you're seeing them flash on your screen right now. I'm going to walk you through 9 performance and financial metrics. These are easy to apply. I would suggest that you look very carefully at these and try to apply as many, if not all of them, because they will tell you the story of what's happening with your program. So let's go. Number 1. All right. Trade shows are about face-to-face contact. You do not have an infinite amount of capacity for face-to-face contact. In fact, you have a very finite amount. I think it's important that you understand what that amount is. This formula is going to answer that question for you. Let me explain it. Grab your pen, calculator. Here we go. The midwinter meeting has 23 exhibiting hours. What is that? That's your playing field. How many people are you going to have standing in your booth on average for all 23 hours for the purpose of talking to visitors? In my example, I've got 3. I don't know what your number is. Write it down. Next, listen carefully on this one. Set a target number of interactions per hour per staffer. 3, conservative. 4, moderate. 5, aggressive. 3 to 5. I want you to pick one of those numbers, 3, 4, or 5. You want to play it on the aggressive end, use 5. Want to play it on the moderate end, use 4. Want to play it on the conservative, use 3. Then multiply it, and you have just calculated the single most important number you will ever understand about trade shows, your exhibit interaction capacity. You have the capacity to execute 207 face-to-face, one-to-one interactions through your exhibit. From this will come your leads. From this will come your sales. Okay? Now, there's a rule of thumb on booth staffing. Okay? 50 square feet per staffer. So if you don't like the number, if you go 207, that's all, what can you change? Can you change the number of hours in the show? No. Can you change the number of booth staff? Within reason. Remember your 50 square feet rule. Can you change the number of interactions per hour? Yes. With good pre-marketing, with a well-designed exhibit, with a well-trained staff, you definitely can increase that. So what your exercise here is to calculate your exhibit interaction capacity for the upcoming show. Okay? Next, now that you know what your capacity is, one of your first performance metrics is going to be how much of your capacity did you actually utilize at the show. I had the capacity for 207. I was able to track 135 interactions in my booth. Therefore, I utilized 65% of my interaction capacity. Is it good, bad, high, low? Well, you're going to want to be in the 80 to 100% plus on that. So in this example, I would look at that and go, 207, we only got 135. We need to look under the hood here. What was going on? Did we do pre-marketing? Did we have a well-designed exhibit? Was our staff proactively working it? Were they spending too much time with people, too much time with the wrong people? All of those questions. So this is a performance tool to gauge how well you're taking advantage of the opportunity. Okay, this metric is another one. This one's got a little bit of complexity to it, but let me explain it. It's called exhibit attraction efficiency. Okay, so let's say your exhibit has 135 interactions, and let's say that you went inside of the attendance figures and you were able to define the types of practices, the specialties, the job functions and titles of the type of people you want to see, and the geographical areas where they come from. And with all that, you were able to find that there were about 375 people at the show that matched your ideal profile. And by the way, this example, that number would be ridiculously low for most of you, given that I believe the dental professional side, Lisa, were we at about 17,000, 18,000 on professionals?
Yes. Yes, about 9,000 were the exhibitor personnel, and the balance are dental professionals, and the show isn't open to the public, so it's only the profession that comes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so here's what you're going after here. How many people in the show audience were the ideal type of visitors for me, and how many was I able to interact with? The game here is called exhibit attraction efficiency, the metric. The target is 45%. You want to have the capacity to interact with 45% of your target visitors over time. Okay, now you don't go from 36 to 45 in one swoop, but this is a little more complex. If anybody wants to go a deeper dive on this metric, drop me an email, call me. I'd be happy to talk you through for your situation in a one-to-one. Okay, now let's get into money here. Okay. If I were to ask everybody on this webinar, trade shows expensive, cheap, I'll bet you every one of you would go they're expensive. And if all you see is what you spent and you're not clear about what it is you're really buying and what you're really getting, then I agree, they're expensive. But if you understand that trade shows are really about face-to-face contact with your target audience, now you can bring a metric to play called cost per interaction. Simple formula. So let's say I invested $25,000 in the show, and let's say that I had 135 interactions throughout my booth. My cost per interaction was $186. Now, here's a question. Is it high? Is it low? Is it good? Is it bad? Well, can you assign a value to a face-to-face contact? And the answer is yeah. In North America, the latest research I could find on what the cost of creating a field sales call is, where one person from your company meets with one person outside of a show out in the field, is $596. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing here, but I'm seeing the ability to cut the cost of putting a body in front of a body. Okay? This metric is the way you answer the question, what did it cost us to put our company identity, our products, our staff face-to-face with a person in our booth? You've got your metric. Easy to calculate. Okay? Next. Okay? Leads. This is a deep topic. We're going to need to do a webinar on this one in the future. We're going to have to tackle this lead because there's a lot of issues over here. But here's the thing. If you're not writing business at the show and you ever hope to get ROI, the real product of the show for you is leads. Okay? So we need to be calculating our cost per lead. Very simple formula. Total show investment divided by number of leads captured equals what? cost per lead. Here's the question again. High, low, good, bad? Well, it depends on what you compare it to. Here's one thing you could compare it to. The North American average cost of a trade show lead at $283. I'd like to suggest something better to compare it to. The average sale amount for your company. Example, if you have a $400 sale and your cost per lead is $200 for rounding off, you got a problem. 50% of your revenue will be devoured by your lead acquisition costs. On the other hand, if you got a $10,000 sale, right, divided by a $208 cost per lead, you're smiling all the way to the bank. Why? 2% of revenue will be devoured by lead acquisition cost. It's a great formula to run here. Compare it. Now, by the way, some of you are doing a lot of shows. You're doing a whole lot of shows. Some of these shows are not working for you, but you got no dashboard, no metrics, no scorecard. So what if you looked at one show and your cost per lead was $1,200, and what if you looked at another show and your cost per lead was $208? Now you need to look at that other show and get under the hood and figure out what's going on. So cost per lead, track it, compare it to the B2B average, compare it across your portfolio of shows, compare it to your average sale amount, and you are playing this game very intelligently. Okay? Next, you should be setting firm lead goals for every show. The formula for setting a lead goal is to go back to the first formula, exhibit interaction capacity, and multiply it by 0.25. 1 out of 4 visitors convert to a lead. Now you can walk into the show with a very firm lead goal. So you track what? Here was my lead goal. Here's the number of leads captured. I only achieved 80% of my goal. I need to ask some questions here to figure out why I didn't hit 100. Okay. Then 68 of them were A leads, 60 of them were B leads, and 22 of them were C leads. So now what am I tracking? My lead goal, my actual. I'm also by quantity, and I'm breaking my quantity down by quality. Okay, another powerful performance metric. This one that you guys are going to love. Marketing managers that are on this webinar who have to hand the leads over to sales and then they're gone. You don't know what became of them. But you still got to figure out a way to justify the trade show investment. You got to have a way to show your boss that you're bringing big-time value for the company. You're going to love this formula. So I captured 120 leads. Let's say that my average sale amount, my average is $5,000. I have generated $600,000 in potential revenue for my company. Okay, and you can slice this down by maybe only using your A and your B grade leads. But look at this, $600,000 in lead value. Now watch this. When I divide it by my show investment, I have generated a 24-to-1 soft dollar return on investment. I'm going to define soft dollar in a moment. But every dollar that I invested into the show brought $24 of potential revenue value for my company. Now it's sales' job to go out and bring that revenue home. Okay? So for some of you who can't close the loop, maybe you sell through independent reps, maybe you sell through dealers, distributors. All right, now obviously if you're writing orders at the show and post, and by the way, you should be tracking both. Okay? So let's say that you wrote $450,000 combination at and post-show sales. It's 9 months after the show. You're measuring all this. Then your average sale order was $4,500, okay, with your $25,000 show investment. Look at your ROI. Every dollar invested in the show brought $18 of top-line revenue. I'm telling you, you'd be a hero in your company if you can show these type of metrics to management, okay? Next, let's talk ROI, return on investment. What should you go for? What's reasonable? What's realistic? What can you expect? Well, there's 3 levels that I target. Number 1 is 1-to-1, dollar in, dollar back. You invested $25,000 minimally. you want to get $25,000. Why? It's paying its way. Guess what it's moved from? An expense to an investment, which is what we've been talking about. Now, that's not exciting, though. I give you $1, you give me $1 back. It's better than you stealing my dollar or walking away with it, but that's not exciting, right? But at least it's paying its way, right? But I'm not pleased with that. Better, 3 to 5 back. Dollar in, 3 to 5 back measurably. If you're not at 1-to-1, that's your first target. As fast as you get to 1-to-1, then you move to 3 to 5. Once you get to 3 to 5, as high as you can go. I have clients that get $24, $35, $45 back for every dollar they invest in shows. Why? Because they're doing shows right. They're not just showing up. They're doing everything we talk about here. Okay? So, 2 types of ROI. Hard dollar, cash, checks, at and post-show sales. Okay? It can be measured in top line or gross margin, as I'll show you. Soft dollar, let me explain. Value you receive that can be quantified or expressed in numeric terms. It's typically in the form of something saved or a potential revenue gain. But it's not hard dollar because you can't put it in the bank. Okay? So here we go. Here's the ROI formula for hard dollar. So let's say it's 9 months after the show and you are able to trace that $450 back from your at and your post-show sales. Now you got to back out your cost of sales. So you talk to your accounting department and ask what's our cost of sale or our gross margin. In this example, I've got a 70% cost of sale. So it turns out at $135,000 of gross margin. Now, because I'm looking for exhibiting ROI, I have to back out my exhibiting investment. So now I've got what? $110,000 net. How am I doing? Well, 110,000 divided by 25,000 is what? 440% gross margin return on investment. Now, stop for a moment and ask yourself, if you could show, tell, and prove to your boss, to your leadership, to your team, that every dollar you were investing in trade shows was bringing back $4.40 of gross margin revenue, what do you think that would do for your value to the company? I'm talking goes through the ceiling. You basically become, you go from becoming a roadie to a rock star, okay? So that's what's possible as you bring measurement into the game. Now, let's talk soft dollar, okay? Soft dollar. And I've given you a few examples of soft dollar, but let me close with this one. So I invested $25,000. I got 135 interactions. My CPI was $185. Now I'm going to compare that to the average cost of a field sales call, where I deduct my cost per exhibit interaction. I've saved the company $411 per interaction. When I multiply it by the number of interactions we created, look what I've got. $55,000 soft dollar ROI. Now you combine soft dollar ROI savings with hard dollar ROI and potential revenue value created. Wow, what a difference one show can make. Okay, so the genesis, the end game of your measurement is to put together a report. Okay, it's a Word document with 13 paragraphs or sections or pages, however long or however short you want to be on these. And you can see the things that you want to be capturing in this report. And you create this report and you do it for all your major shows, and you share it with your boss, executive management, and you share it with your exhibit team. And this is how we bring the game of measurement into exhibiting. Remember what I said, you have a lot to gain by bringing it in. The question is, will you take some of this and do it? So, because if you will, okay, if you'll use some of these metrics and start applying what you're learning through this program, your exhibit program will visibly and directly support your core business objectives. It will deliver financial value beyond cost, and you will be the hero. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here, is make every one of you an absolute hero in your company. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions, and while I'm doing that, Lisa, are there any kind of thoughts or closing comments or anything that you might want to share before we wind down?
Oh, I just want the exhibitors to take advantage of the special promotions that we're doing that are complimentary to all of our exhibitors on our mobile app to announce any show specials or new products. The deadline is actually tomorrow, so then those will be uploaded to our mobile app, which will tie directly to the exhibitor, because this is a brand new feature that we've added. And that this is our 150th Midwinter meeting, so I am hoping, as I'm sure all the exhibitors are, that it's an outstanding success for all of us.
Yeah, you know, the opportunity's there for all of us. You know, you guys do a great job of creating the venue, getting the dentists there. You know, the professionals, we've got, what, 17, 18,000, 19,000 professionals. There's more than any one of you as an exhibitor could ever dream about handling. Okay, you just got to really do your part. You've got to really not get caught in the logistics trap. You got to move from that expense to that investment. You got to set clear outcomes. You got to promote. You got to create an exhibit that is worthy of the dentist's time. In fact, that's going to drop me into some of the questions right now, because one of the limiting factors that somebody voiced was the dentist's lack of interest in discussing product. Let me hit that one head on. I don't think they are interested in talking about products, but you know what they are interested in? They're talking about how to perform better dentistry. They're interested on how to increase patient comfort. They're interested in how to increase patient satisfaction. They're interested in how to help their staff perform better. They're interested in getting their insurance claims processed faster. They are interested not in products or services, but the results that they deliver. So here's, for all of you that market products, here's a very direct piece of advice that will be priceless. Ask yourself two basic questions. What situations would prompt someone to be interested in what we sell? Don't think of the product. Think in terms of the situations, the frustrations, the pain points, the problems they might be having. So that's question one. What situations would prompt somebody to be interested in what we do, whether you have a product or a service, doesn't matter. Second, how specifically does our product or service alleviate or address the situation? Make your marketing and make your exhibit experience about dangling problems and making the visit to the exhibit the place to talk solutions. Okay? So we got to get out of what we sell, and we got to get into what people really want. There's an old saying that goes way back. People don't buy 3/4-inch drill bits. They buy 3/4-inch holes. What's your hole? Okay? So you've really got to come from that point. Someone's got a question on, do I have a standard definition for a lead? Yes. Write this down because this is important. Information rich with a committed next action. Information rich with a committed next action. The 4 elements of the lead would be somebody has personally interacted with the visitor, key qualifying questions have been asked, answers have been captured or documented, and the next step is agreed upon by the visitor. A fishbowl that says drop your card in here for a chance to win, that's not a lead, that's a contestant. Somebody that walks up and says, here, could you send me some literature? Scan my badge. That's not a lead, that's an inquiry. Okay, a lead is information rich, committed next step, personal interaction, questions asked, answers documented, next step identified and agreed upon. You give me 50 of those, I'll convert 15 to 25 of those to business. You give me 500 of scans, swipes, contestants, I'll be lucky to convert 5. Okay, so great question. Thank you for bringing that in. Another question, how would we track interactions in the booth? Listen carefully. Okay, the quick and easy way is to take your lead count, or for some of you, your scans or your swipes, and multiply it by 2.4. So if I captured 100 leads, I would multiply it by 2.4, and I could fairly accurate estimate my total traffic to be at 240. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Where did 2.4 come from? That is a industry benchmark called a stopped to literature ratio. Here's what it means. On average, okay, 1 out of 2.4 visitors that stop at a booth are interested enough to request information or contact. It's a safe metric to use. 2 other ways to track total interactions is if you're the booth captain and you aren't tasked with working the booth, one of your jobs could be to track booth traffic, literally with a clicker. Now, would you do that for all 23 hours of the show? That might be difficult depending on the size of your booth. But in lieu of doing it all 24 hours, what you could do is take 2 one-hour intervals on each day of the show and just track it over those 2 intervals. Maybe an AM, a PM, an AM, PM, track your booth traffic on those intervals. Here's another way to do it. Video technology has gotten wireless and ridiculously cheap. The ability to put a wireless cam discreetly in your exhibit and record the action, that would be another way to do it, okay? And for the purpose of what? How many people stopped? How long, and boy, if you're running timers on it, how long did they stay? What did they land on in the booth? Now, there are companies that will charge you $10,000, $15,000 to do that, and you could look into that, but I don't know, you might be able to do that on your own, you know? So there's some ways to kind of track that traffic. Let me see what else we got in questions. Will a presentation be sent to us? It will be uploaded to the Exhibitor Resource Center, and it will be available for unlimited replay viewing. Okay, afterwards, shortly afterwards. It may take a day or 2 to get it up there, but we'll do that. Let me see what else. That's all I'm seeing right now. If you have any additional questions, I would say ask now. If it's something that is personal of a one-to-one, you want a deeper dive, email me, call me. If it's a show-specific question, Lisa's awesome. She's totally got you guys back, so feel free to email or call Lisa or anybody at CDS that involved that can help you. And so we are out of time. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. I have really enjoyed presenting it to you. More importantly, I hope you take what made sense here, okay, what made sense for you, and use it, okay, because it's not what you heard that's going to make a difference. It's going to be what you do. So do something with what you learned, and I can close this not by wishing you a better midwinter meeting. I guarantee you'll have one if you use it. So thanks for logging in, everybody. Lisa, thank you to you, everybody at CDS, for making this investment. I look forward to seeing everybody at the show. So this concludes today's webcast. Thank you.